La 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 la. We're crossing our fingers for the tech gods to work. La 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 la. La 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 la. Okay, the tech gods worked. Woohoo! Woo! All right, super excited. You're going to just give me a moment here. We're going to do a couple of shares to get some people to come hang out with us for this juicy, awesome conversation we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to stop having boring sex. Woohoo! And why that happens in relationships. So I say it's worthwhile waiting. Sorry, I'm switching over just so you know why we got some more delays, is that I have switched over. I'm not at home, as you can see my background. I am frolicking at the nudist resort. And so there's a lot more tech stuff that's not all set up. So please bear with me. La 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 la. I promise it'll be worth it. Cat. Almost there. This would be a great time to go run and get a tea or a coffee while I'm setting all the logistical stuff, back end stuff. All right. You're all amazing for being patient and waiting for me. Okay, so yay! So welcome to another episode of Frisky Fridays, where we talk about all things couples. And I'm your sexy host, Gaia Morrissette. And today we're going to talk about boring sex, how to stop having boring sex, why people end up having boring sex, and what constitutes boring sex. So that's our juicy conversation that we're having today. I have a couple of different housekeeping things that I want to share with you. One, make sure you're on the Frisky Friday list so that you get all things couple related and content that's awesome. The comments, and it'll be in the comments in the description later after the live. So come back and click on the links there, or you can reach me at succulentliving.com and to learn more about how to spend time with me. Okay, so let's get into our juicy conversation. Boring sex. Oh, one more thing. Please leave comments and likes, and because when you leave comments and likes, it allows and gives other people to have more interaction. And if you ask me questions, that's why the beautiful thing of me being live. So come ask me questions, and but there's a little bit of a tech delay between when I'm speaking and when you guys are leaving comments. So I'll just keep an eye on those, and bear with me if it's all in sync. Okay. Mwah. I love you for all your patience. All right, here we go. Boring sex. So boring sex consists of any kind of sexual activity that your brain and your body is like, oh, I totally know it's going to happen next. It's always the same sequence. And what happens is that for in a lot of sexual relationships, people find something that they think works, and they do it always the same way. And it doesn't matter if you're where you are on the spectrum in your relationship of your sexual exploration, because even the most wild and crazy, adventurous, sexual swinging from the chandeliers, like i.e. me people, can quickly fall into having a routine, a sex routine, because it works and then it's easy. But what ends up happening is that as soon as your brain can start to realize that I know what's going to happen next, what ends up happening is that your arousal levels drop. There's no anticipation anymore. The biochemicals that you release, which one of the major biochemicals that you release in your arousal state is dopamine. And dopamine is created by the new, the unexpected. And so, if every single time, so here's an example of a typical sort of sequence of where things can get pretty stagnant and kind of boring is all right, so there's usually one person that tends to be the initiator, typically. So they initiate, and then there's some kissing, there's some groping, maybe some oral sex. Then there's intercourse. This is for anybody who's having penetrative sex. Then there's some form of intercourse. Hopefully both parties had an orgasmic release. If not, one may have only had an orgasmic release, and then it's over and it's done. And if you're listening to this and you're like, shit, that's how I've been having sex my whole life. Well, here's a good opportunity to learn how to have sex differently, because you're really minimizing your epic orgasmic pleasure possibilities. Not to mention your orgasmic swinging from the chandeliers, being a rock star, that your lover is, craving you, thinking of you, and you're a part of their spank bank. Okay? So you want to keep it fresh. Now, how do you keep it fresh? There's a couple different ways. So if you're on the spectrum more of where you're in the vanilla spectrum, and so vanilla sex is definition of vanilla sex is, doing it missionary and, the lights off, or doing it in a pretty consistent sequence of like kissing, maybe oral sex, intercourse, like penetrative intercourse, um, engagement and orgasm and done. Okay, so that's the sequence of vanilla. So if you're at that space, there's a couple of quick, easy ways to just kind of mix it up a little bit. So, and typically people will also have a sequence of where they do it. So in the house. So if it's in the bedroom, like they'll have a lotion and a conditioning and all these things. So an easy way to start mixing things up, like getting, really crazy, start slow, baby steps, okay, is that you can just change locations. You can change locations. You can change the sequence of events. So maybe you have, some oral sex and that's all you have, and that's your sexual gratification. Or maybe, the person who usually goes first goes second. And, you know, so that's kind of, you can just change up the sequence of events, the how things happen, the location, and doing that will help to get you back into the groove of arousal and desire, and get rid of the boring sex part. Okay. Now, if you're a little more adventurous and that doesn't seem like a big deal, and that's kind of part of your norm of what I've just talked about, then I would then up your notch by adding some like sex toys into the mix, and maybe some food play into the mix, and adding a blindfold to the circumstance, have some headset so that people can't hear. These are some ways in which you could just kind of take it up a notch, because now the brain will start to be like, I can't anticipate what's going to happen next. And that's really the key to preventing boring sex, is that you don't know, the person who is engaging in the sexual experience doesn't know what's going to happen from one moment to the next. Okay, and that'll help to bring the arousal levels back up, and also start your brain to producing dopamine. Now, say you're at that level and you're like, that's kind of a normal Tuesday for me, Gaia, what you just talked about. So now you really got to up your game. All right. And so then I suggest watching one of my videos that I did on, spicing up your sex life. And I talk about creating an sexual adventure bag, where each lover puts in what their deep, dark desires and fantasies are, and they write it down in a description, and it goes into the bag. And then you've learned how to negotiate, how to navigate that when you pull out the bag. And then you want to pull out the bag at least once a month, so that you're actually going on a sexual adventure. And that's, and now we're talking about things like having threesomes, or, exploring some deep, dark desire, or BDSM and kink, or like, now you've really upped up the game. Now you're diving really deep into your sexual desires and learning how to communicate with each other about them, and expanding your sexual repertoire. So these are just some quick tips on how to kind of mix things up a little bit. Okay. And if you're like, I don't even know where to begin, or you're like, I really want that, but my partner doesn't want that, or there's like the disconnect in that, and that's not just easy, those suggestions aren't easy to bring into your bedroom, then I lovingly invite you to come hang out with me. Whether that's in doing one-on-one coaching with me, or coming and taking one of my online courses, to kind of help heal and release and figure out what's going on there within your relationship. So you can always reach me at succulentliving.com. There's two C's in succulent, and I can't wait to see you next month. Also, I'm always looking for co-hosts to come onto the show. So anybody that loves talking about relationships and couples and sexuality, in relation to couples, please contact me. Again, you can get my contact info at succulentliving.com. And I hope you have the most amazing weekend of great, wild, adventurous sex. No more boring sex. Oh, one more thing, just as, PS. Often we have boring sex because there's a sense of laziness, that there's a sense of security, and almost like, well, this is my comfort zone, or this is my comfy shoes, or I don't want to put in the work and the effort, I can just get off, I know how to, we know how to just get each other off, or we can just get off when we're with each other, and this always works. So why would I take the effort? Well, the thing is that it eventually, right now, you may not be in a sexless relationship. If you are in a sexless relationship, please contact me. You may not be at a sexless relationship state right now, but I can guarantee you, if you do not take a little bit of initiative and, basically get your ass off the couch, turn the television off, turn your, tech off, and go engage in some, sex, or your partners, depending on what lifestyle that you lead, and, spice it up a little bit, you will eventually end up in a sexless marriage, because you and your partner will no longer desire to have sex, because your brain will not be producing one of the key ingredients for arousal is dopamine. And dopamine is only produced from newness and excitement. So I leave you with that. Okay, bye-bye.